Good morning, afternoon, or evening. My name is Shannon, and today we are going to be going over all of the books that I read in October. This month I read 13 books, 3 novellas, and 1 book of poetry. We're just going to go from chronological order, so what I read first to what I read most recently. So, the first book I read this month was A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. This book is about a woman named Constanta. She is saved by Dracula, and this entire book is her letter to him on why she had to kill him. This book is from second person point of view, so she is addressing us for the entire part of the book, and it is tragically beautiful. I was deeply impacted by this book. It is so moving. I loved it, although it had me sobbing at parts of it. I rated it about 4.5 stars. I still stand by that rating. I just really enjoyed it, and I think that anyone who has been in a not so healthy relationship would enjoy this book. But be warned that it is triggering for toxic relationships and gaslighting and all that kind of stuff. Along with that, I also read An Encore of Roses, which is at the end of this book. It's classified as a novella. It's not a lot of pages. It's basically an epilogue, but it was really, really good. I rated that about 3 stars just because I felt that it was way, way too short to be classified as a novella, but I still really enjoyed it. Next, I read Maybe Meant to Be by K.L. Walther. This is a YA romance. It is about 2 best friends, Charlie and Sage, and basically everyone thinks that they are in love with each other. They're in this prep school, and Charlie keeps going from girl to girl, and Sage has never really dated anyone. But Charlie is really interested in the new guy at school, Luke, and Sage is actually really interested in Charlie's twin brother, Nick. And I loved this. I think it's the perfect fall YA romance. The only thing that bothered me was the main characters. Charlie and Sage bother me so much because they clearly keep hurting their opposing love interest in the beginning because they're trying to figure everything out, and it really got on my nerves because both Luke and Nick are absolute sweethearts. I would probably rate this about 4 stars. Next, I read the poetry book Enough Rope by Dorothy Parker. This was really good. I really enjoyed it. I don't really know what else to say about poetry. I'm not really good or into analyzing that kind of stuff. I just enjoy it. I rated that 4 stars. Next, I read Reveal Me by Tahara Mafi. This is a novella within the Shatter Me series. It is from Kenji's point of view. I really enjoyed it. Again, it was just a novella, but I really enjoyed seeing what was going on with Juliet in this book. If you know, you know. I rated this 3 stars. It was good. It was fine. I just wanted to get to the last book, which I did, and it is Imagine Me. This book was so good. I was so close to rating this 5 stars because of how much I enjoyed it, but Anderson, he made my skin crawl. I said it in the reading vlog where I read this, but Anderson makes me believe that I am capable of murder. I hate him so much. But, I mean, obviously you're supposed to. He's the villain. But I greatly enjoyed this story. I think it was an excellent conclusion. And the only thing that bothered me is that we didn't get more of what happened after they left. But I rated this about 4.5 stars. The conclusion to the series is a novella called Believe Me. I rated this 5 stars. I loved this so much. After everything these characters have been through, it was so I don't even know how to describe it. It was like catharsis seeing them finally get the happiness that they deserve. I loved it so much, and I really think it was the perfect way to end the series. I would have loved if this were a full-on book and we just got to see them living their lives after everything that happened, but I still really enjoyed it. Next, I read Indigo Ridge. This is the first book in the Eden series. I loved this so much. I love Wynn, I love Griffin. This is a romance where Winslow is the new chief of police in Quincy, and they meet at a bar. He thinks she's a tourist, she thinks he's a tourist, and they end up hooking up, and then she finds out that he is actually a member of the founding family of Quincy. And things just kind of go from there. There's also a mystery subplot that's really, really good. I rated this 4.5 stars because I loved the romance. I loved the mystery subplot. Honestly, I liked it a little more than the romance in the beginning of the book. I was so curious. I wanted to know what happened so bad, and I think it came out perfectly. I rated this 4.5 stars. I was really close to rating it 5 in all honesty. Next, I read Juniper Hill. This is the second book in the Eden series, and this book is about Memphis and Knox. Memphis is new to Quincy. She just moved there from New York after having her child and giving up her family's wealth. She is actually living in Knox's side house because she couldn't find anywhere to rent, and she actually is working for Knox's sister at her hotel, and it's just so good. The forced proximity, her child, the way that Knox bonds with him, it's just so good. I ate it up. And again, this does have another subplot, but it's still, it's also good. I rated this 4 stars. I actually read a lot on my Kindle this month. I don't know why exactly, but I got really into reading on my Kindle this month again. And the next book I read ended up being Garnet Flats, which is the next book in the Eden series. I loved this book so much. It is like 4.75 stars. I was so close to rating this 5 stars. The way that he is so obsessed with her, I loved it so much. This is a second chance romance between Talia and Foster. I loved this. They used to be in love in college, I believe, and then he ended up marrying her best friend. It's so complicated, but he's so obsessed with her, and he ends up moving back to Quincy to get her back. It's so good. I rated this 4.75 stars. I loved it, loved it, loved it so much. The next book I read was also on my Kindle. It was Jasper Vale. This is the 4th book in the Eden series. This book is about Eloise and Jasper. It was so good. This is a marriage of convenience where they ended up getting married in Vegas, and he is like, I kind of want to stay married so you can be my date to this wedding, and she wants to stay married so she can prove to her family that she is responsible enough to take ownership of the hotel that she manages. It just goes from there. They pretend being married, and it's so good. I rated this one 4 stars. And then I read Crimson River, which is the 5th and most recent book in the Eden series. This book is about Lila and Vance. Lila is one of the Eden siblings, and she ends up going for a hike. And on that hike, she meets a man, and he strangles her. He almost kills her. And she ends up getting away, but she ends up reporting the crime. And then, a couple days later, Vance shows up looking into this because he has been on a manhunt for this guy for years, wanting to know what happened and all that stuff. And things kind of go from there. I didn't love this one. It honestly kind of creeped me out just because he was supposed to be looking into this and he was more focusing on her. I don't know. I didn't love it. I still really enjoyed it though. I rated it about 3.5, 3 stars. The next book I read on my Kindle, but I do have the physical copy, and it was Divine Rivals by Rebecca Ross. This book, I love it so much. It is so, so good. This book is about Roman and Iris. Iris works at this newspaper, and she is fiercely in battle with Roman. They're both competing for a higher position at the newspaper, but they constantly have this banter going on. And while all this is happening, there's a massive war going on with the gods, and her brother, Iris's brother, actually enlisted to fight in this war, and she is trying to write him letters, and she writes them on her typewriter. She puts them under her wardrobe at night, and in the morning they're gone. She doesn't find out for a while, but we know that it's Roman who's getting these letters, and he ends up writing back to her, and they write back and forth with her unknowing to who is getting her letters, and it goes from there. It's so, so good. I rated it 4.5 stars just because this was my first urban fantasy book, so I wasn't really expecting the way that it is. So once I got into it, I really enjoyed it, but I was expecting more of a high fantasy kind of vibe. But the ending in this book left me distraught. I will be reading the next one. I think it's called Ruthless Vows, as soon as it comes out. Next, I don't have the physical copy of this book, so I'll insert a picture, but I read Hopeless by Elsie Silver on my Kindle. This is the last book in the Chestnut Springs series. It is a book about Beau and Bailey. Bailey is a bartender at the local bar in Chestnut Springs, and she is also a member of the outcast family in Chestnut Springs. However, she is nothing like her family. She doesn't even like her family, but people constantly stick their nose up at her because of who she's related to. Beau is a member of basically the Crown family in Chestnut Springs, and he's also a wounded soldier. He was a prisoner of war, I believe, because he was trying to save a journalist, and he has a lot of trauma from that, and they end up striking up a bargain to be fake engaged to show how people will treat her differently just because she has the Eaton name attached to hers. And it is so good, and things just kind of go from there. I gave that about 4.75 stars. I really enjoyed it. Next, I also didn't read the physical copy of this book, so I'll insert a picture, but I read A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. This is the final book in the Once Upon a Broken Heart trilogy. I loved it so much. I rated it 5 stars. I know that's kind of a controversial opinion. I've seen that people are not loving this book, but I really enjoyed it. I think it was perfect, and obviously the villain annoyed me a ton, but obviously he's the villain. I literally can't really say anything about the plot of this book because it's the last in a trilogy and I'll give everything away, but I was really happy with the ending of this book. Next, I actually really surprised myself by reading this month, but I read Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I loved this book. I rated it 5 stars. I don't believe my reading vlog for that book is up yet, but I loved it so much. I wasn't really into it at first, but then once I was, I literally stayed up till 3 a.m. reading it and then finished it the next morning. I rated it 5 stars. I loved it so, so, so much. I just wish I didn't hate the indie covers as much as I do, just because they're so ugly. I'm sorry, I love Chloe Walsh, but I don't like picture covers, and the fact that it's glossy makes me hate it so much more. This book is about Johnny and Shannon, and Johnny's a huge rugby player, and he's in line to play for the pros in rugby, and Shannon basically wants to be ignored by the world. She was bullied at her last school, she has a horrible home life, and on her first day at her new school, she ends up walking across the pitch, which is what they call the field in rugby, and Johnny does not see her. He ends up kicking a rugby ball and it hits her in the head. After this, they basically become super attached, although they try to stay away from each other for a long time, while Johnny is just trying his best to protect her from anything and everything. But it's so good. The slow burn is so good. And this book is dark. I want to make that very clear. This book talks a lot about domestic abuse, and it can be really hard to read at times. I don't want to act like it's not dark, but I still really enjoyed it, and the way that they described how a victim of domestic abuse feels, or like in their home, I felt that was an incredibly accurate description, and I really appreciated that. And then lastly, this was the same day that I finished Binding 13. I read till 5 a.m. reading Keeping 13, and I still didn't finish it, but I actually finished it yesterday because, oh my gosh, it was so good. It was so good. As soon as I finished Binding 13, I immediately started reading Keeping 13 because I had to finish it. I loved it so much. I didn't love it as much as the first one, but I love this found family. I love Johnny's mother so much. She's a queen, she's a legend, she's an icon. She was one of my favorite parts of the entire book. But I rated that book 4.75 stars because it was still absolutely excellent to me. I am really looking forward to reading the next ones, but they're not currently available on Kindle because you can only pre-order the new version that's coming out, and the physical book hasn't been released either, so unless I want to order the picture covers, I don't even know if they're still available. No, you're not even available to order the old photo covers for Saving 6 and Redeeming 6, so I'm stuck. I can't read those books yet, and I hate it because I want to read it so badly, because that book is about Shannon's brother Joey and his girlfriend Afa. I could be pronouncing that wrong, but I think that's what it said in the pronunciation part of the book. But oh my god, it's so good, and I'm so looking forward to Claire and Gibbs's book. I think it comes out in April of next year, but that book is going to be phenomenal. I'm so looking forward to that. Because of how long this video is, as soon as I turn this camera off, I'm going to film my November TBR video, and it will probably be going up tomorrow. When you guys are seeing this, it'll probably be up tomorrow. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe. All of my social media is linked down below for you guys. Make sure to click the notification bell so you guys can be notified right when I post a new video. I hope you guys are having an absolutely wonderful morning, afternoon, or evening wherever you are in the world, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!